Murder two ways. He says, yo, if you have to question anything, let's ask why he's 40 and he got the same hairstyle as my 10-year-old. Who got the same hairstyle as a 10-year-old? Joe? Wait, Drake is not 40. Stop it. Your 10-year-old has the same hairstyle as Drake? Okay. Sean Money, thank you for the 2. He says, yo, was this album better than Donda? I mean, at this point, I wouldn't say this. By the way, I think Donda really appreciated with time. Donda is a musical. You know what I've realized about Kanye West's albums? They're more like musical pieces than I'm thinking about like a rap album. They're like musical pieces. And the level of musicianship that is usually displayed on this project. By the way, another thing too, as we were talking about Kanye, let's talk about Kanye for a second. Kanye West supposedly is about to have, they said he's planning a massive Italian concert next week. And they said Kanye West reportedly is starting to plan for a massive concert in Reggio Emilia, Italy, that will entertain more than 80,000 people next week, according to the Italian newspaper, which bills itself as the official voice of Northern Italy's city. He's reportedly dispatched all the necessary workers to construct a stage in preparation for an event taking place on Friday. However, the outlet makes it clear that while the through-the-wire rapper may be dispatching the necessary field workers to get blah, 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 he hasn't gotten the necessary authorizations from the Italian governing bodies. Now, this is why this is important. People, you know what I think Kanye does amazing that I think Drake doesn't do really at all is presentation. And I wonder where y'all fall on the, as an artist, is the presentation of your work important just as the reception of your work and also just how the quality of the work? Because Kanye West is so phenomenal and just so far in this thinking about how he delivers a project. By the way, apparently he's been working on a project. Don't know who's on it. Don't know how it sounds. Like we don't know nothing. Obviously, there was a shit ton of music leaked. Some people believe some of that might be used, but it was like 104 gigabytes. It was documentaries, all type of stuff. Regardless, even though I haven't heard anything from the album, you know what I'm thinking? I'm like, yo, Kanye West is just amazing with presenting the album. He presents it as bigger than life. He presents it as bigger than a rap album. Even, I don't know how long he takes to work on these things, but he presents it like it's like opera, like it's a Broadway play. And I do believe that has profound impact on how it's viewed. And, you know, in a time where music is just so devalued and it's come and go on some TikTok shit where people forget about your release a day and a half after you drop it, presentation is very important. By the way, let's compare music to like the movie industry. I always believe that, first of all, remember when, you could still pirate music. Obviously now we're in the streaming era, but even after, you know why the music industry never got back like how the movie industry got back? Because piracy hit both. People were downloading movies and music. Is that the movies made it an event that you could not replicate by downloading the shit and watching it at home. It was an event. It's an event to go there Friday night. It's an event. You have to go to it. There's a presentation. That first week you're going to see it. It's a presentation. And that is the importance or the difference between that and just music. If you just get music from an artist, it drops on Friday. I mean, now we just streaming, but back then if you just download it, there's no presentation. There's no like, oh shit. There's no FOMO moment like you need to be there. Right? Like the way Kanye West presents his music, though, there is a little bit of FOMO in the sense of, yo, he's like, and he did this before with both of the Dondas, the one that didn't really come out or came out on STEM, and then the first one. You need to, like, this thing is a living, breathing thing that you need to be there to experience, which I think that's very dope. Anyway, apparently it says, translation, in the event the authorizations aren't forthcoming, the date of the following Friday, which was the 20th, is also on the table. Additionally, there's speculation that the preparation are merely for an end-of-summer concert. I don't think that's it. And rumors of who could be performing still hang in the air, especially in the absence of official confirmation from West Camp or other camps. Obviously, I don't think this is happening. It's 4 days away. I don't think it's going to happen, but he's trying to do it for 80,000 people. One thing with Kanye West, he thinks big. He's always like going for the most grandiose, like, look. Okay, cool. Zykis, thank you for the 10, bro. He says, if J. Cole drops a classic album by the end of this year, the number one spot in rap will be in question, especially if everybody rocks with it. Okay, I'm going to say this. If J. Cole, I'm being hypothetical, if he dropped a Forest Hills Drive type album by the end of this year, I think there would really honestly be a conversation about who's the hottest rapper at the moment. And by the way, I don't think J. Cole has been in that conversation. Like, no disrespect. Like, he's always top three. Like, again, when I'm saying not in the conversation, I think Drake, because these guys are just not as active, Drake's been number one. And we don't even really compare him or whatever he's dropping with Kendrick. We just like, oh, this is just another Drake. But if J. Cole shows that he's down to put out a project, he's already rapping like that. He's rapping like that on First Person Shooter. He's rapping like that on motherfucking Secret Recipe. He comes with a fucking album that's better than arguably every Drake album this year. We might be having a different discussion. Now, granted, I would love if that is even a possibility because it shows that he's down to compete. Whatever I told you about, whether it's J. Cole or even like Kendrick, I don't think them niggas want to compete. I don't think they want to compete with Drake. You feel me? I think they do their own thing. They're on that, They're on that like new age NBA player shit where it's like not about competitions. Like, I'm on my own path, my own journey. I'm just like, I'm as long as I'm happy. All right, whatever, man. But if J. Cole did some shit like that, it would be a conversation of who had the best year. I do believe. All right. Let me see. MDA. We read MDH 251. I didn't read this yet. Thank you for the fire, bro. He says, Drake gave his life to music and he's nervous about the end nearing. I'm wondering why he would think it's the end nearing when I think genuinely we're not really even having a conversation like, his run is ending because there's no incumbent. There's no runner-up. There's no second in command, right? Like it's the same two dudes, Kendrick and Cole, and they don't ever seem hungry enough. Obviously, as I said, Cole seemed a little bit more hungry now. So who's like, how could he fall off? Like if you're number one and nobody wants to be number one or nobody's in competition to be number one, even if you fell off, you just fell off from a previous version of yourself, not fell off in the culture. Okay. Chris Jones, he says, all right, we read that already. He says Drake need to kick Yachty out of the OVO lab. Chivalry, thank you for that. I'll be in Florida soon too. Moon Music, somebody named Moon Music donated £5. He says, Joe fumbled that Drake interview. This is your time to get that exclusive act. Well, here's the thing. If you lived, like obviously everybody wants a Drake interview, but if you lived and operated accordingly by saying, if I piss this guy off, I won't get an interview. You're like, I'm going to be honest with you, that's more manipulative because that artist is going to hold the fact that you want to interview over your head and he's going to get you to do whatever the fuck he wants you to do, right? Because he's going to be like, oh, yeah, now we're going to do this interview. So now you're trying not to critique him objectively because you're like, I don't want to piss him off. I want to get this interview. So again, I don't believe in fumbling an interview. Like Drake is going to interview with whoever the hell he wants to interview with, right? Like did Hip Hop fumble an interview when he went to go do one with Bobby Althoff and Casey or Caleb Presley? No, he wanted to do that. So I don't necessarily think there's a fumble. And by the way, here's the thing too. Joe having his opinion about the album, you know what would be the best interview right now? Sitting down with Joe. Go sit down with Joe. Actually have somebody who is passionate and opposing to what you think. But we've never seen top rappers do that, right? Like, when's the last time Rihanna did an interview? Like, Jay-Z barely does interviews. When's the last time you've seen a hip-hop interview from even, like, Kendrick or Cole? Right? So, again, I can't say a nigga fumbled an interview he didn't have. It's different if it was like, yo, Drake said he's doing an interview next week and he said some wild shit this week. Okay, you fumbled. Briscoe the King, thank you for the 10. He says, yo, Drake album would be more heralded if he would trim it down to 13 to 16. By the way, I seen somebody said that to me. I guess they wanted me to, like, chop the album down or try to create a really good album. I guess that they could see my A&R skills and my taste if we were probably going to take songs from the last year from Drake. But yeah, I do think, 13 to 16, that's the sweet spot for Drake. By the way, somebody says, Views, CLB, and Dogs have the same issue. Too many fillers that take away from the greatness of the hits. That might be true. By the way, we should get... Actually, I'll talk about the sales afterwards. Isaiah JP, thank you for the 5. He says, yo, Lil Act should have been in the studio with Drake instead of Yachty. Hey, listen, I'm not saying necessarily me. I do think somebody who is, you can challenge him enough and you also know what peak Drake is. You know what I mean? Because the challenge for Drake is, can you ever, it's like Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt ran that 9.56 or whatever the case is, or 5.8. I would hope that he would be trying to meet that again or break his own record. I don't compare Drake with the field, honestly, for the most part. Jessa Queston. They say, listen to J. Cole's verse on Secret Recipe again and tell me he ain't taking shots at Drake. He's literally talking about older rappers making TikTok music, chasing the youth for relevance. I kind of thought that for a second, but I was just like, why would he be dissing Drake on his own song? Or why would he be dissing? I mean, there's even a part in First Person Shooter. I'm like, but why would he, number one, be dissing Drake on his own song, First Person Shooter? But why then would he be dissing Drake on Secret Recipe with Drake's best friend, Yachty, right? Javon Lee, he says, Gunna versus Drake new albums. What's slapping? Y'all be the judge to that. Big Gucci Dame, thank you for the 5. He says, yo, is Spotify robbing artists with them doing discovery mode and taking 30% of their royalties for that song in exchange for the artists to get more streams? I don't think Spotify is robbing artists. I think Spotify is starting on the future, which is, if these days a label could only promise you that they could possibly influence a playlist to playlist your music, can't you just avoid that by just signing a deal with the streaming services themselves? And even if you have to give them some of the revenue, at least they're incentivized to promote you. And now you don't have to deal with the label, which, by the way, a label is going to take way more than 30%, right? Muhammad Sissay, thank you for that too. He says, yo, no cap, Yachty got to see you on that fade. Why? Hard Deep S, thank you for the 5. He says, Fat D is, by the way, I swore Drake was going to have the album call 4, like the number 4, right? For all the dogs, because the abbreviation of Fat D is crazy, okay? But Fat D is fire. Listen to each song individually throughout the day. Motherfuckers listen to a 1-hour album in one sitting and call it trash. By the way, today's like day 3 or day 4. The album is sounding better than it sounded that night. I'm going to be honest, okay? Okay, cool. We should get into some YNW Melly stuff real quick.